I'm up on the newest pond, which is still developing. We put fish into it last year, and we're slowly adding plants and bringing it through. We put the fig tree behind me that got planted this spring, but there's always the possibility of stacking another function. Now, originally this was dug and developed just as a way of harvesting really major rain events, at which point it will come up to about here, but that's a major rain event. For the rest of the year it pretty much sits at this sort of level, which means that this level here is just slightly muddy, slightly boggy, similar to this down here. It's wet, but it's not absolutely saturated, it's not underwater, so it's a perfect location for a particular type of plant. Now this is Ramsons. This is a wild garlic. Totally illegal to harvest from the wild. These weren't. These are harvested from someone's garden that was going to be filling in an area and just didn't want them anymore. That there is easily 60, 70 plants. And we've got a lot more than 60, 70 plants. We've got hundreds of them. So we're going to plant them up in clumps. They like it being in clumps anyway. They like a sort of dappled light kind of effect, so as the fig gets bigger and comes out, they'll do quite well, and of course it's a really good cash crop. I mean, these have significant value. We could just sell a lot, but no, we're going to plant them now so that in years to come we've always got access to garlic at any time of year. And because the only other plant that's in here are some really nice water lilies, water iris across the back there, and they got a very different looking root. They're not going to get confused. You pick one of these and you snap it, you can smell the garlic instantly, and they're tending to be towards the other end anyway. So even in the middle of summer or even in the middle of winter, if we find that we're out of garlic and we need to get some, the bulbs are still here in the ground. And these things, I mean, they thick it out and they'll completely carpet this area, so it's virtually impossible to denude it. It's always going to be here. It's a really good perennial, and this is the perfect environment for it. But I wouldn't have planted them out last year until I'd seen what this pond did over about 18 months. But yeah, as it goes, it's perfect here. So I'm gonna start sticking them in the ground. I'm not going to film too much of that because there's just so much of it. But yeah, I'm going to plant up some garlic. And that's all of those in. We've started down here where it's something really quite wet, and then we've really varied the moisture levels as we go through. So you see most of them are along the muddy section here, the really quite moist section, but some of them have been planted up under the edge here, just a little bit up the berm. So even if we did have a really wet summer and some of the ones down here got into difficulties from being too wet, these ones here, being several inches up the berm, are going to stay high enough and dry enough that it's not going to be an issue. And we've done the same thing round to just about there, and this whole section here has been planted through. So it'll take perhaps a year or two before it all gets completely filled in. But that's a really nice asset to have, a load of perennial garlic that's just here whenever we want to harvest it. And it's a very lucrative crop for selling as bulbs, because you can't harvest it from the wild legally. And of course this is as ethical as it gets, because this was harvested out of someone's garden that was going to be destroyed otherwise. So yeah, that's another major perennial in a system that it's actually going to do well in. I mean, you can grow these things in, buckets of wet compost and things in your back garden and so on, but it's a whole lot easier if you can put it into an ecosystem where it actually wants to function and wants to do well. So yeah, that's with usually with this other thing you put like half a dozen bulbs or maybe 20, 30 bulbs if you're really lucky and you feel like spending a lot. But this is an entire system. It's instant results. So yeah, I'm really pleased with this. That's something I'd always wanted to do, but that's given us a real head start on that system.